Everyone knows about Germany's legendary Autobahn. But did you know that we also have waterways in addition to roads for cars? And they are also very important.
Welcome to YD. Why do Germans do things the way they do?
Back in the days of the Germanic peoples, rivers were often the only way to transport goods over long distances. The Romans built their fortified camps along rivers. In some of the world's primeval forests, this is still the case today. Conversely, rivers separated areas and important trading points were established at fords or bridges. Frankfurt takes its name from Furt, port, a shallow spot in the river. And even though more and more roads connected cities and people, for centuries it was ships on rivers and seas that transported heavy loads, and this is still the case today. Germany has 7,476 kilometers of waterways, 75% of which are navigable rivers and 25% canals. The longest canal is the 392-kilometer Mittelland Canal, which connects the Elbe in the east with the Rhine in the west, together with a few other canals such as the Rhine-Herne Canal and the Havel-Oder Canal. It also connects France and the Benelux countries with Poland and Czechia. The oldest canal in Germany is the Finnow Canal, which was built at the beginning of the 17th century but destroyed during the Thirty Years' War and rebuilt in the middle of the 18th century. It connected the Havel with the Oder. You could say that the small Panama Canal runs through Schleswig-Holstein, the Nord-Ostsee Canal, North Baltic Sea Canal, internationally known as the Kiel Canal, and until 1948 still called the Kaiser Wilhelm Canal, because it was started in 1887 and opened in 1895. It is the busiest artificial maritime shipping route in the world, with 32,000 ships per year or 90 ships per day. One of the busiest rivers is the Rhine on Germany's western border, which is navigated by around 50,000 cargo ships annually. While rivers have always been there, albeit not necessarily in their beds, canals were created artificially. Rivers, on the other hand, were sometimes placed in artificial beds to prevent them from meandering. This had a negative impact on flooding, flora, and fauna, which has been counteracted in recent decades by renaturation. When the waterways became too steep, locks had to be installed to regulate the water level so that they remained navigable. The Federal Waterway and Shipping Administration operates 315 locks in Germany, the highest of which have a drop height of 25 meters. What happens when a lock fails was seen in December 2024 when a ship carrying 1,500 tons of scrap metal crashed into a gate of the Müden lock on the Mosel, destroying both gate wings, the anchoring, the concrete fixing, and the hydraulic drive, causing the lock to be out of service for 55 days until it was repaired. During this time, no ships were able to pass the Moselle. However, 70 riverboatmen struck above the lock were able to be lowered by means of emergency locking. A few days ago, the Elbe was closed due to ice, and icebreakers had to break up the ice, and the same was true for sections of the Mittelland Canal. Similarly, shipping on affected rivers has to be suspended from time to time in the event of high or low water levels. There are also lifts for ships, known as ship lifts. Incidentally, the longest canal bridge in Europe at 918 meters near Magdeburg is one of the waterways in Germany. In 2024, 173.8 million tons of goods were transported on German waterways. In particular, liquid mineral oil products, iron ore, stones, and earth. 70% of this was transported on the Rhine. Also, this is slightly more than in previous years compared to lorry traffic on the roads, which accounts for over 70% of freight transport and approximately 20% transported by rail. It represents only 6.5% of goods transported in Germany. Nevertheless, the 2023 federal budget allocated 1.35 billion for maintenance and administration of waterways, even though industry experts would have liked to see 2 billion. For expansion and new construction alone, the budget for 2025 was increased to 895 million from 727.7 million in 2024. Europe's largest inland port is located in Duisburg. It's a confluence of the Ruhr and Rhine rivers. If all public and private port facilities are added together, it is even the largest inland port in the world. The town of Ruhrort was an early hub for ships, and the Boatmen's Guild was founded there in 1665. The port grew around coal and steel, as did the steel works in the Ruhr area in Duisburg. Ruhrort has since become a district of Duisburg. In the 1950s, the port was threatened with silting up due to a drop in the water level of the Rhine. As dredging the port would have been too costly and problematic, targeted mining was used to cause subsidence, which lowered the port. Every year, over 53 million tons are handled in the port, and a total of 110 million tons of goods in the Duisburg ports and railway stations, mostly in containers. Over 20,000 ships and 25,000 trains are handled. Traveling downstream on the Elbe, you arrive in Hamburg, with its port, which, although located on a river, is a tidal port and can be accessed by seagoing vessels. It is the third largest seaport in Europe after Rotterdam and Antwerp. In 2020, the volume of seaborne cargo handled was 126.2 million tons. Hamburg is one of the 3 city-states in the Federal Republic of Germany. The smallest city-state is Bremen and Bremerhaven. Bremerhaven was founded in the 19th century by Bremen as an enclave on the lower Weser River on the North Sea. This port was assigned to the US occupation zone, which was actually located in southern Germany because the Americans needed a seaport to obtain supplies from home. Although this port is much smaller than Hamburg, Bremerhaven has the longest continuous container terminal in the world at almost 5 kilometers in length and is still number 46 among the world's largest container ports, with a throughput of 4,445 20-foot unit equivalent per year. The German Bight in the North Sea is a very busy area. On the other side of Schleswig-Holstein, at the Danish Straits of the Baltic Sea, there's even more traffic. And the English Channel, which leads from the North Sea between Great Britain and France into the Atlantic Ocean, is the busiest waterway in the world. So there's a lot of traffic around the German coast and on German rivers. And if there are any difficulties on the North Sea or Baltic Sea, the Seenotretter sea rescue services are there to help sailors. So loosen the mooring lines and full speed ahead. Remarks, addition, and comments in the comments. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next video.